Cyril Harkin from Greencastle, fisherman, boat owner. Yes, from Greencastle, really, it all started. I started actually fishing. My first birth, actually full-time birth, would be 1974, and that was salmon fishing with a local lad, Niall McCormick. But before that, you'd be always about the pier every time. You'd be at that time in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s. You'd be down about the pier all the time, like, you know, from basically every day, like, you know, after school or whatever. It was a way of life, like, around the village. And as I say, I would have fished salmon, going out on people's places like before that, but the first job I got was 1974, fish salmon with a local lad, Niall McCormick. And that took me up to September, where I started. I got a job in on a trawler with Charlie Kelly, another local lad, and I fished with him for I think, I just can't, about 3 or 4 years possibly. And then I moved on to, I got another change boats then, went on to, got a berth with Patrick McLennan and Foil Warrior at the time. And I stayed with Patrick up until 1985, I think it was, where the opportunity arose where a boat came on the market, and I moved on and bought my own boat in 1985, first boat that I ever ran. And I worked her for about 10 years up until 1995. I sold her and bought a French boat, went over to France and bought a French boat. In 95, the first Maritime, which I kept for 10 years. And that time there was a program of new buildings available, so I went for a new building, and I built a new boat in 2004. She was launched. She was built in Spain, and I have her to the present day. So that's what I'm at now. But to keep the name with me, it's. You get attached to a name on the boat. Like there's actually 3 of my 4 children, like, you know, Margaret, Lisa and Fiona. You know, it's a mixture of, you just kept the name, you know. Well, basically, boats in general, there's a lifespan on them, like, you know, and as they get older, there's more maintenance, and they keep. But at the time I upgraded, there was an opportunity there to move on to a new boat. And at the time I built her, she was more for offshore deep water species. But needless to say, in the middle of it all, they the EU banned it. And so basically I just had to carry on what I was at, like, you know, and make the most of it. Fish for now is whitefish, which consists of a mixed fishery. It's whiting, megrams, monk, haddock, cod, basically whitefish in general, like, you know. The majority of the megram, hake and stuff would go to Spain. You have rays and stuff would go to Belgium. Ling and stuff like that would go to France, and whiting it could go to Scotland or stay in the country to be processed. Like, you know, it's market driven. Like, it's really who's paying for the fish. Like, you know, we take them ashore into the co-op, and it's his job to sell them. Like, you know, but they could be sold anywhere around the country, or around Europe. Like, you know. The majority of our fishing in this boat here, it all depends on quotas and fish in general, like if there's seasons for different areas. But the majority of our fishing would be done from the whole west coast of Scotland, right down to the south coast of Ireland, and as far west as Rockall Bank, or that's any particular. It doesn't any area in that area, like whole western approaches. Yeah, well, basically you would once you leave the harbour here, you would. It all depends. Again, you could be steaming for 6 hours, or you could be steaming for 32 hours. It all depends where you're going, and you would arrive on the ground, and once you would start to fish, you would be basically going for the next 5-6 days fishing to you'd steam ashore. Usually, the trips could be anything from 5 to up to 10 days, could be anything, but an average 7 days trips, depending on weather, fish, what fish you're catching, and different factors would depend whether you'd land early or late, or you'd work around weather and stuff like that, Crews. 50% of the crew would be actually Irish, and 50% would be non-Irish. We have a Spanish lad at the moment with us. We have a Sri Lankan lad, and we have 3 Filipinos aboard. So basically they're from all over the place, Well, the job is not just as attractive as it was for the Irish people now as it was years ago. There that many restrictions. I find it hard to get Irish crew at the moment. It's basically it's just a job. It's got that much harder over the years. I mean, it's a harder life. They're away from home a lot, away from families, and it's basically they're not in their own bed every night, So it's very hard to get Irish crew at the moment now. Yeah. Well, it's basically my feeling on it is the government doesn't appreciate the fishing industry. There's no interest. They don't realise the value of the industry to the community and to the country. They have sold out their rights whenever they joined the EU, and the excuse that time was that, for example, the Spaniards and French had historical rights, yet I'm fishing now, there's 44 years, and I wouldn't say there's many more older people, Spanish or French people, that's been at it as long, yet the restrictions, we just haven't got the quota to fish, I would spend more time now steaming away from fish to maximise the quota to have, where it's very disheartening to be fishing on fishing ground, and you spend maybe a week looking for fish, and you come on fish, and then there could be a fleet of boats fishing it, Irish, Spaniards, Frenchmen, Danish, any nationality, and you would maybe have to steam away from these fish because you have your quota caught, where they have a big quota and they can fish away at them, Basically, you feel a wee bit let down, all right, by the government, without a doubt, yeah. It's very disheartening. It makes it harder to make a wage, for starter. It's very disheartening, whenever you started fishing, that was your main objective, to go out and catch fish, and now you're fishing for a number. You're fishing to catch X amount of fish, and you're steam away. You're given X amount of fish in an area. You go out and you catch it. In some cases, you could catch it in 2 hours, or 1 hour, and you have to steam away to another area to fish. It's very disheartening. Especially when you have other people fishing the same fish. It's disheartening. It's not. In my opinion, you have to work too hard to get to that point. Like, you know, the sacrifices you have to do I think that's the reason, like, you don't get the young Irish lads coming into it anymore. I believe, like, you know, you have to push yourself that hard to get to that point, like, you know, to make a living, like, you know, that you shouldn't have to do that, like, you know. Basically, at the moment, a young Irish fella, whenever I started out, if you worked hard and you gathered up a bit of money and you could save a bit of money and you could invest it in a boat, you could start off from the cook gunner, whatever level you started, and worked your way up, and you could at the end of you were working your way up to own your own boat. But it's not possible to do that now for a young lad, like, you know, because with licences and basically they couldn't get they can't get a licence, like, it's too expensive, like, you know, they've priced themselves out of the market, like, you know. They just can't. It's very hard to do that now, like, you know. You can work your way up all right and become a skipper, but it's very, very hard to. I don't even know whether it's possible or not to own your own boat now, like, you know. And because that's the way it's gone, like, you know. I don't. Virtually, it's you might get as far as skipper as but like, you know. To be realistic, it's for a young man starting out now. It's virtually nearly impossible to finance that, like, you know. Well, I'm lucky in the sense that I have my son coming behind me, and I can hand the licence and all over to him, like, you know. I'm lucky in that sense, like, you know. But if I had nobody coming behind me, I'd have to sell up the whole lot and step back out of it, like, you know. And in a lot of cases, the people that is buying up the licences is the people that has money. It could be companies, it could be a Spanish company, it could be a French company, or it could be it mightn't even be an Irish fellow, like, you know. The way it was structured whenever I started, as I say it, like, it's if you were successful, worked your way up, that you could end up owning your own boat now. But it's not structured that way anymore, like, you know. It's I don't know. The EU seems to want fewer people in the industry, but bigger companies, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not a family thing anymore. Like, you know, where my time it was all around the family. Like, you know, that's the way I see it going on. Anyway. Well, I mean, in the 70s, maybe you had, off the top of my head, maybe about 30 trawlers. Worked out of Greencastle, 70s and 80s, like, you know, the 80s, more, I think so, more so in the 80s. You had about 30 trawlers that were working out of Greencastle, and each trawler had 5-6 men on them, like, you know. And they were all locals, they were all, what I say, locals in the Inishowen area, like, you know. And they all made a living out of it, and as things moved on, they just seem to, I mean, at the present day, you have something like I think it's 6 trawlers working out of Greencastle now, like, you know. And they just had a structure. They're fishing different, as I said, in the 80s, you had the more trawlers, the fish less days, but now to keep the show on the road, you have to keep the boat going nearly 24/7 now, like, you know. With a crew and a half kind of thing, like, you know, where you'd half the crew ashore for a week and the other. It's just structured different. There's less boats, and I don't know where it's going to end up, to be quite honest with you, like, you know. It's very hard to say where it's going to end up. Well, I don't regret it, no. I mean, fishing was always like in Greencastle area. Like, I was brought up in Greencastle, and as I say, you got out of school, and the first place you headed for was to see the boats coming in the evening, like, you know, and you'd be involved with it. You would get jobs, even small jobs in the evening, like, you know, fishing related, like, you know. Salmon time, you would. It was a high of activity then. Like you would get a job of pulling out in nets every day, and you get paid on a Saturday. It wasn't that much, but it was something you done. And then the trawling season, like you would come down and watch the boats coming in and see the fishermen landed, and you're always interested in it. And it was a way of life around the village, and it seems to be going now. It seems to be going okay, like, you know. Fishing is still a good enough opportunity for, but they need support. They need to be supported by you know. It's the problem with the fishing this last 15, 20 years is they're fighting a battle against the government as such. Like the government doesn't see it's a natural resource that's on our doorstep, like, you know, and you're restricted from harvesting this natural resource where other countries is allowed to come in and plundered. And that's the problem with the Irish fishermen sees. That's the way they look at it. Like, you're restricted on what you can do. You're given the crumbs off the table to try and make a living. Yet there's other nationalities that got a free for all to come in and reap the place. Like, you know, it's there's still fishing is still a good opportunity to make a good industry of it. Like, you know, but you need support from the government to do that. Like, you know, that's maybe I come across a wee bit stronger in the sense that. But that's the general feeling with fishermen, like, you know. That's the general feeling. There's no other two ways about it, like, you know. If they get a bit of support, it's still a good industry, like, you know, to be. I mean, I see myself, like, you know, fishing is only one part of it, like, but to have a fishing boat, you need to buy fuel, food, you have engineering places, you have mechanical, you know, all the different industries around that's connected with the fishing, and you see the whole lot dying, like, you know. But the auxiliary industries is there, like, around the fishing too, like, you know, which employs a lot of people, and I just can't understand why they're giving it away, or why the government is actually so intent on destroying the industry, like, you know. Well, I don't think it's deliberately, but it's at the time of the entered the EU, it was said that they were sold out for the farming community. But I mean, I don't know nothing about that as such. Like, I just see the fishing end of it and what's happening here, and they're just not getting the support, like, you know, they need, like, you know. Oil and gas is the same thing. They give away the oil and gas rights around Ireland and the fishing rights around Ireland. They seem to, any natural resource they have, they seem to give it away for some reason. I just can't. I don't know why, like, you know. It doesn't make sense to me, like, you know, if you look at Norway or any other country, they wouldn't give away their natural resources, like, you know. They've come down very hard on us on rules and regulations, yet there nobody wants to go out and destroy fishing. It's our livelihood, and we get a lot of bad press, like, you know. I think it's a natural resource, and it should be there for everybody, like, you know. If you go to the middle of the country somewhere and ask someone about a fisherman, their perspective of a fisherman is they go out and reap what they can, just with big nets. They go out and they just catch everything in the ocean, like, you know. But that's not the case. Like, we're no different to a farmer, for that matter, who goes out and works his field or whatever. Like, we go out and work an area, and we work at whatever time it's not economical to be in that area, we move to a different area. The type of fishing we're at, regarding seabed, I would say we cover maybe, in the Irish economical zone, I would say maybe we only fish maybe off the top of my head, maybe 10% of it or something like that. Like, you know, we're not actually reaping up the seabed or stuff like that. Like, you know, it's not the case. Like, you know, but it's a renewable source, and as I say, I'm at it 44 years now, basically at the same job, and it's still you still make a living out of it. Like, you know, but it's getting harder and harder every year. Like, you know, so fishing is a young man's job. Like, you know, to do it right. Like, you know, it is. You get to it's a young man's job. It's a lovely job. It's a job you need to be brought into, and it's very difficult for anybody to come in from outside to go into the fishing, like, because it's just not like any other job. Like, you know, it's not like any other job. But there's still a future there if they just get a bit of support, like, you know, and get it. That's what I think.